how handsome the groom looks. Okay, that's enough. Let's not get carried away. My name's Danny. I'm John's best man. I think most of you here know who I am. And those of you that don't, well, it's your loss. I met John 6 years ago when he first came down to California from Calgary on a job relocation, and we instantly hit it off. We went to car shows, we went to sporting events, bars, Los Angeles, all the things normal good buddies do. We've become good friends, and we have been ever since. So when John asked me to be his best man, I was honored. I thought, I want my speech to be special. I thought I didn't want my speech to be like so many others I've heard in the past, where basically the best man has roasted the groom the entire time. I wanted mine to pay tribute to him, to honor him. Quiet there. Okay, and I wanted to pay tribute to this man. So I thought I would come out here today in front of all of you and tell you about all the great qualities in John. Hold on. Thank you, Haley. I didn't mean to run to a roadblock that soon in my speech, but John is kind. John is considerate. John is very sexy. John is cool, and John is John, I can't read your handwriting on this one. Charismatic. Charismatic. But more than any of this, he's our friend. He's a loving father, a loving brother, and now a devoted and loving husband. I met Carl, quiet up there. I met Charlene about 8 months later. We were going to celebrate John's first birthday in California. So we decided to go to the local sports bar after work, have a few drinks. It was John, myself, a couple of co-workers from the yard, and one cute, innocent, then quiet co-worker from the office named Charlene. And we talked that day, we had drinks, we had a little celebration, and I must say that Charlene was a breath of fresh air amongst all us guys. And she was the only female there, which was kind of strange, but we welcomed her. That day I cut out early. John stayed, Charlene stayed, a couple of co-workers stayed, and they drank. And John drank. And John drank.
It was my birthday.
He couldn't drive home that night, so he had Charlene drive him home. Now, the next morning I asked John, what happened that night? How did it go? He said everything went well. He told me that Charlene had to drive him home. And although that wasn't their first kiss, everybody could see that sparks were flying between these two. So I asked John, how did this come about, John? Because I knew John, he wasn't that charming. He didn't have that much game. Okay, so I wondered what happened. Well, he told me, she's been flirting with me in the office for the past month. I said, what? He goes, yeah, you wouldn't believe it. Her dress attire has gotten more provocative week by week. What are you talking about? Her shirts got lower cut, her skirts got higher cut, and all of a sudden this little angel's wearing heels in the office. I said, no way. He said, yeah. And she got voluntarily more clumsy, bending over to pick up pens, pencils, paper in front of John, just to get him aroused. John told me he could not stay focused whenever Charlene came in the office on anything else but her. She was a distraction. He didn't get any work done. And quite frankly, he said the whole situation was, how'd you put it? Totally awesome. Shortly after this, they had their first date, their first kiss, and quickly became an item. And I quickly became the third wheel. But they never made me feel like this. They always made me feel comfortable, welcomed, involved. included, and I quickly became as good friends with Charlene as I had with John. Now, shortly after this, John, myself, and a couple of co-workers moved into a place together, and although Charlene was there all the time, she hadn't officially moved in yet. You see, there was one more task that John had to take care of before this could happen. And that was that John had to meet Charlene's parents. Up to this point, she hasn't told her parents anything about John. Okay, she's been rushing home every single night for an 11 o'clock curfew, no matter what she was doing. And she also told her parents that all the time she's been spending with John, she'd actually been spending with her friend Carly, which was kind of true, but not really. Okay, so her parents didn't know anything about John yet. But after a lot of house meetings, Charlene decided to go tell her parents. Now this made Charlene very nervous. She knew the parents were going to ask the obvious questions. What's his name? What does he do? Where is he from? And how old is he? This made Charlene very nervous, which in turn made John very nervous. But after a few months of racing home for curfew, she decided to tell her parents about John. John was summoned to the house immediately. I remember him showering, getting ready, putting on his nice shirt, taking off the sandals, putting on normal shoes, going to meet parents. Now, I don't know how this really went, but as far as I can tell, everything went fairly good because John is still with us here today. And the only people that could really tell us, give us a little insight on this, would be Dave or Rosa. Maybe, Dave, do you have any insight on how this first meeting went with John?
Well, that's what I said. Well, I got to speak this old man.
You gotta have the speaker.
We said it went fairly well?
Yeah.
Okay, it went fairly well. Well, that's good. After this, Charlene moved in. John's attire in his bedroom, his decor changed a little bit. It went from bachelor to animated characters, rhinos, and Pikachus, or Pokemon, whatever you want to call them, like Charmanders, whatever it was. So Charlene moved in, we become one big happy family. And this whole time we got to know each other better and better. After all this was COVID time, we had to be restricted to the house. So we all got to know each other fairly well. And we actually got to know each other sometimes a little too well. I'll just share one last story with you. See, I lived with John, Charlene, Savannah, who's part of the bridal party, and Zach, her boyfriend. I lived with them for about 2 years. And some nights I didn't get much sleep. You see, we had a nice place. It wasn't in the best of neighborhoods, but it was a nice place. Had a pool in the backyard, backed onto the mountains. A lot of wildlife there. Some nights we were awakened by the sound of gunshots. Shit happens. We got used to it. Other nights, you could hear the howl of the coyotes in the hills. That was pretty exciting. And other nights, you could hear the howl of some other sort. I want to thank the thin walls and John and Charlene for those nights. I didn't sleep much, but that's all right. Don't mind that. Fast forwarding. That wasn't you. I think it was the other way around, but that's good. Either way, it works out. Fast forwarding a year later, they're engaged and living in a place of their own. And then jumping forward another year brings us here today. All of us gathered together for John and Charlene's wedding.
Oh, there we go. There it is.
Right now in California, I want to let everybody know, right now in California, the pollen level in the air is very high. So if I do shed a tear, I want to let you know it's my allergies. I apologize.
Pussy.
Okay?
Hey, keep crying.
Now-
I want $100.
I've known them from the beginning. I've been close with John and Charlene from the beginning. And I've seen that relationship grow. And I can't think of two other people that are more loving, more...
There you go. I just
more caring, more devoted and dedicated to each other more than these two right here. So I ask everybody to raise their glasses in a toast. Water for now. To John and Charlene, we all wish you the most happiness, the most love, and the most success this world has to offer. Cheers, guys. I think Savannah now has something to say.